Did you find your identity? That's what this entire movie wants to talk about. So, here are some facts we have together. At the beginning of the movie, we hear the same music we heard in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, but with a slight change. According to the composer himself, this time some notes were removed to symbolize the fact that nobody remembers Peter Parker anymore. He did this to bring back that feeling and atmosphere for us. In the opening credits, we see the events of Spider-Man's story up to Spider-Man: No Way Home. After the spell is cast, the opening credits show that nobody remembers Peter anymore, which is a great way of visually showing what happened. In the next scene, we see Peter in a large house with equipment and a voice assistant voiced by Naomi Watts. The movie never shows where his source of income comes from. This is the opposite of how his suit was designed, because he made that suit himself since he didn't have much money. We can also see Peter's eyes through the mask in some shots, showing that he used cheap materials to make it more affordable. Since we're talking about Spider-Man's suit, let me mention that the visual effects on the suit have been reduced to a minimum. The director himself said that the suit was inspired by Tobey Maguire's and Andrew Garfield's suits. The lines and raised textures come from Tobey's suit, while the symbol and colors come from Andrew's suit. When we look at the board Peter has, we can see some really cool details. The Daily Bugle talks about Boomerang's return, and we can see pictures of Tombstone and Tarantula and Scorpion. Above all of them, it says, "With great power comes great responsibility," showing that Peter learned from the previous movie and has become more mature. Then, when we see Peter's crime-fighting software, it reminds us of the Sony Spider-Man game, which also had an app like this. In the next shots, when Spidey carries someone under his arm, it is a reference to Amazing Fantasy number 15, which was Spider-Man's first appearance. The next shot, where Spidey fights Scorpion, is related to the 1994 Spider-Man comic. Then we have Tombstone, which comes from the 1998 comics. The fight with Boomerang is a reference to The Amazing Spider-Man from 1991. Then we have the fight with Tarantula, which goes back to The Amazing Spider-Man from 1974. Further ahead, we have the fight with Ramparad, which references The Amazing Spider-Man number 224 from 1981. A fun fact about Ramparad is that he is a Daredevil villain. Then Daredevil fights Spider-Man, and the two of them even team up to stop Ramparad. Here we also see the mayor giving Spider-Man the key to the city. After the events of Daredevil, Born Again, we saw Mayor Fisk step down and Shada replace him. The police officer who works with Spider-Man here is Jean DeWolf. In the comics, she actually has a very interesting story. Jean DeWolf is a character who, just like here, is a police officer who helps Spider-Man. One night, she is sleeping at home when a killer enters her house and kills her with a shotgun. Who kills her? Austin, the character known as Sin Eater. Sin Eater is one of Spider-Man's villains. There has not been only one Sin Eater. Multiple people have taken on the identity over the years. But that isn't the important part. After Spider-Man finds Sin Eater, he beats him almost to death and loses control, while here Spider-Man is bonded with Venom and is wearing his black suit. When Sin Eater is close to death, Daredevil arrives and stops Spider-Man from killing him. Then the Sin Eater storyline takes an interesting turn. The news about Jean DeWolf's murder was covered by Eddie Brock, and in the article he wrote, he revealed Sin Eater's identity. However, the identity Eddie published was wrong. Later, when Spider-Man catches Sin Eater and brings him in, Eddie's credibility is destroyed, and he develops a grudge against Spider-Man. Eddie is fired from the Daily Bugle, and then we get the events involving Venom, something that future movies might explore, especially considering that Jean DeWolf has been introduced. In the next shots, Peter is walking down the street and saves a little boy. He then taps the boy twice on the head. You might say this is just a reference. Those 2 taps on the head could be significant. In Iron Man 2, Kevin Feige confirmed that the kid was Peter Parker himself, and later Tony also tapped him twice on the head. Maybe this is a Marvel tradition where the current hero inspires the next hero, and this kid could eventually become Miles. However, don't get your hopes up because Kevin has said that they won't use Miles until Spider-Verse is finished. A few shots later, we see graffiti on a wall that references Eminem, as well as the Amazing Spider-Man comic, which had a rap battle between Spider-Man and the Rabbit. A few scenes later, we see MJ, and the necklace Peter gave her is still around her neck. This shows that she still remembers something, but she doesn't know what she is supposed to remember. Something similar was confirmed in the comics by Mephisto. During Ned's investigation into Spider-Man, there are some interesting details. At one point, it says that Spider-Man might be European, which references the second movie in this series. Then it lists his height, gender, and skin tone. I don't know how they were able to determine his skin tone, but it says white, with a question mark next to it. That question mark could be a reference to Miles. The balance of power, the moments where Peter passes out, and the way his emotions affect his powers are a direct reference to Tobey Maguire's second Spider-Man movie, where we saw the same things happening. Even after he comes out of the cocoon, it is a clear reference to Tobey Maguire's early days as Spider-Man. Peter's eyes turning black is a direct reference to the 1990 comic, where Peter completely transforms like he does in this movie. He keeps saying, "I'm a spider," and gradually becomes less human. Seeing Empire University in the movie must be especially painful for fans of the old comics, because in the comics, this is where Spider-Man first meets Gwen. In the classroom, a girl asks Banner a question.
Excuse me, Dr.
and
Banner?
that girl's
I
name
need your help.
is Sydney.
What did you say her
She
name
is
was?
Asian, and everyone assumes that she is Sydney Moon. We also see a Hulk wristband, which is a clear reference to the fact that Hulk has lost some control over himself and wants to live among people in his human form. The wristband also says ASM-14, which is a direct reference to the Amazing Spider-Man number 14, released in 1964, which was the first meeting between Hulk and Spider-Man. And now, the device Peter wants to build to prevent himself from using his powers is definitely an early version of the mutant inhibitor device. The same kind of technology we have seen in Deadpool, X-Men '97, and the X-Men movies. Apparently, in Marvel, Peter is the one who creates an early version of it. The scenes where Jean controls MJ were honestly some of the worst scenes in the movie, in my opinion, because this was something a villain would do, and it completely contradicts Jean Grey's characterization. In the comics, Jean Grey is one of the strongest and most heroic characters. But in this movie, she throws an old man in front of a car, tries to throw someone off a roof, does villainous things, and takes advantage of Peter's emotions. The kiss on the rooftop and Peter lifting his mask are references to the kiss Tobey had with Mary Jane. Then Mary Jane falls from the rooftop and Peter saves her, which references No Way Home, where Peter failed to save MJ and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man did it instead. That scene itself was a redemption for the ending of Andrew's second movie, and now this scene is a redemption for the previous movie. When we see the Punisher, we also see his boat, which is called the Golden Girl. This references the Amazing Spider-Man number 141 from 1976, which was the first team-up between Spider-Man and the Punisher, and it happened on the same boat. And here we see the first X-Men character to enter the MCU. Sadie Sink plays Jean Grey, and we are introduced to her character. Jean Grey is one of the strongest mutants in the X-Men universe. Her true powers are seen when she combines with the Phoenix, and at that point, she is basically on Thor's level. It has also been confirmed that she will appear in Avengers Doomsday. And the good news is that a second actor from the X-Men universe has also been cast, Samara Weaving as Emma Frost. We previously saw this character in the Fox universe, and her power is that she can turn her skin into diamond. What's interesting is that all the characters in the series are trying to find their identities. Peter allows the mutant to control him. Frank has moved away from his original goal. Jean is seeking revenge, and Bruce can't control the Hulk. But during the final fight, the movie shows that Peter accepts this duality within himself, and that is when he reaches his full power. And after Peter gets shot, Jean Grey finally does something heroic for the first time in the movie and saves Peter. The shot where Frank carries Spider-Man and rushes him to the hospital is a clear reference to the 2006 Civil War comic. So what do you think about this movie?